I'm going to move on into the second part, which is how to pitch to VCs. And as a heads up, in the second part of our series, coming up in a couple of weeks, we will go into more depth about this topic in particular. So today we'll just cover the highlights. What makes for a good pitch? A good pitch is first and foremost a story. And a good story, any good story, is actually a drama in 4 parts. Okay? Every good story has 2 main components to it: a villain and a hero. So in the movies, the villain could be Lex Luthor and the hero could be Superman, or it could be the villain could be Goldfinger and the hero could be 007. And those very same elements exist in your pitch. The only difference is that the villain is not a person. The villain is a problem, an unmet need, something that you found to be a problem in the marketplace. And the hero is your solution to that problem. So I'm having difficulty flipping the page. Let's see. There we go. All right. So Act 1 in the perfect pitch is defining the problem. And by defining the problem, you are defining who the villain is. Keep in mind that you want to pitch your problem to the right audience. The problem you're describing needs to appeal to a particular audience. When you're pitching to the VCs, obviously, assuming that you've done your homework about pitching to the right VCs, that's taken care of. But when you pitch this to a potential customer, you need to make sure that this is a problem that speaks to them. And the problem, as I said, could be things like unmet needs, things that you have identified as limitations in the marketplace. And it's an interesting, we brought up an interesting quote here from somebody I'm sure you're all very familiar with, Steve Jobs, who had a very good understanding for business. And he famously said that if you define the problem correctly, you're almost there in terms of the solution. By defining what the problem is in the correct way, framing it correctly in the customer's mind, they will naturally gravitate to your solution, to the way you're proposing how to solve that problem. So problems could be lower revenues, they could be things that are too costly in the market, margins that are too small, customers that are unsatisfied. In Act 2 comes the hero. And the hero is your solution, your product or your service that solves this problem. And not only does it solve it, but it does so in a unique manner. And I can't overemphasize enough the importance of having a unique solution and not just a better solution. Yes, your solution needs to be better, but it's funny, if you'll excuse the pun, it's better to be different than to be better. Let me talk a little bit about that. That is part of a relatively new concept in marketing called category creation. You want to present your solution, if you and all you can, as being something totally new, totally unique. You're solving a problem in a completely different way. The reason you want to do this is if you're trying to solve it in a way that is the same, only better, you're going to approach the problem the same way as others have, but you're going to do a better job of it. That's a much more difficult sale. By definition, if you're doing that, you're playing by somebody else's rules, somebody who's already been in the market for a long time, somebody who's conditioned the market to look at things in a certain way that are favorable to him. Plus, he's an entrenched incumbent, which is very hard to dislodge. Conversely, if you approach a problem in a completely different way, you get to set the rules. You are the only player, at least initially, who's in that category, and you get to define how people should look at it. So it's not enough to be better. I said earlier on, some of the limitations in doing things better is that you need to be a whole lot better. It's not enough to be 10% better or 20% better to get funded. You need to be an order of magnitude better in order to be VC funded. Conversely, if you're just doing something that is completely different, there's no benchmark that you need to be an order of magnitude better than. You are the only solution in play. And we'll get into more about that in the second part of our series in 2 weeks' time. Always good to end this part of your pitch with a demo if you can. If you're at the stage where you've already got a working product or even a working product prototype, this is the place and time where you would do a demonstration. You describe the problem, you come in as the hero with a solution, you show that it actually works.